youth to be part of local government elections, and with the same problem of voter apathy coming across in general elections as well?
I think this is something what I'm going to explain, something I've also seen organizations have used to engage youth as it relates to any policy change within an organization. It's approaching them. It's not this big technical thing where it's, we have to create this youth consultancy and then we're going to have to do some surveys and data. Like, no, it's really just going to them. We have the perception that the young people aren't interested, so they're going to call their phones and ask for us to come up and ask them to attend a meeting, and they're not going to show. No, like, they'll attend the meeting 30 minutes before you're there. Like, we're the ones that are waiting for you to show up. An hour has passed and you've yet to come to the meeting. So it's actually showing up. Calling a meeting. It doesn't necessarily have to be a meeting, but calling a meeting and showing up on time, and on time speaks. It shows so much about how someone cares, because when these meetings are called and it's 45 minutes, and we always say, because their politicians are late, and we laugh about it and we joke about it, but no, it's disrespectful. It shows the level of care and the level of trust we can put in them. It shows the level of interest that they have in us and how much they care about us. So it's reaching out, and when you reach out, it's you being consistent in your approach to actually listen and to actually care. So that's it.
So, Sandra, if we're then having a conversation about engaging with the youth, in the year of our Lord 2024, we have social media. We have other ways that you can have conversations, powwows, and discussions. COVID-19 taught us that we can have these conversations brought online, and we can have these conversations on social media platforms. Are you seeing councillors or representatives making the most of these avenues to be able to engage with the youth and do that sort of civic engagement more broadly that is necessary to have them even participate in the legislative, in the democratic process in the first place?
All right, broad brush, not that much, but on specific levels, there are some people who are good at it. There are some people who actually engage. There are a few people that you can think of that if you engage with them on social media, they'll respond. Or if you send them a message, they'll respond. I'll tell you, Floyd Green will respond.
As a member of parliament.
As a member of
and
parliament.
As a minister.
And as a minister. So, he has two levels. I remember texting him a couple of years ago for something re-debating at UWI. And he answered, I was like, huh. He sat down and he answered.
You have engagement with one particular member of parliament,
right.
But is this something that you're seeing MPs and councillors using?
It's not across the board, because that's the issue. So I could use that example, but there are other persons who would have had other engagements with MPs, councillors, or even ministers, and what happens is they are called or they send a message and nothing really comes of it, which is a major issue that we've seen over time. So, understanding that, though, I think Danielle Jordan said a really, really good thing. She really said, just talk to them. It's not really that hard, because some people will say, I just don't know. This person won't answer me. I was like, what if they just walked up to you one day and had a conversation? And young people are generally okay with that. Young people will get excited. I have this one example in my head. New Zealand's Prime Minister, I think she's former Prime Minister now, yes. Jacinda Ardern. I did a study on her, and it was so interesting that this lady would just go live on Instagram. Why our Prime Minister can't go live on Instagram without the script, without all the aids and the persons telling him what to say or what develop? No, just talk. Just be there. Have people ask you questions and tell us the answer. We don't see much of that, and even in using social media. So even if you want them to walk up to you, Danielle Jordan, and say, hey, I'm such councillor, blah blah blah, they still can do that on social media and say, I'm engaging, but they don't really do that. They rather make a nice video and post and it look nice and say, ooh, they're doing a lot of work, let's vote for them. No, but that is different from having a conversation, and conversation can't only happen election time. Yeah. Conversations cannot only happen 3 weeks before you need my vote. It makes no sense.
That is something that has been concerning quite a number of people, Umalora. The idea that these elections should have taken place years ago. You've then known that you should have been engaging people years ago. You've then known that you as your counselor or as your caretaker in the division should have been engaging with people canvassing for that vote. Certainly the COVID-19 pandemic shifted the ability to have those local government elections. But even as we had those general elections, we were anticipating having local government elections as well. Do you think then that people took a break in that sort of conversation to those community stakeholders, especially the youth in that community, in each of these communities? And so now they're expecting these 3-week conversations to do magic and miracles in the way that they had 3 additional years to have those sorts of discussions with them.
I think that's just the truth of it. Something that could have been done in 3 years, you're trying to do in 3 weeks. No, the truth is we expected local elections to happen right after national elections in 2020 or close to national elections, and it didn't. And yes, you could take a break. I mean, when we had guild elections during COVID, we took a 2-month break. But then the conversation had to start up at one point again because it will happen soon enough. So probably you could have taken a break solely on the basis that we don't know what is happening. Let's turn our focus on something else. A pandemic is happening. There's bigger fish to fry at this moment. But then you must come back and recenter and remember that there are young people out there waiting for you. And Sandra made a great point. Daniel made a great point. Even going back to the Instagram lives, like I would have loved to see any politician, councillor, prime minister, minister, anyone do an Instagram live talent show and just give a young person a chance to shine and have a conversation. TikTok is out now and I don't see it. But what we see, of course, is reels being created that takes 24 hours to do. And sometimes I know you're doing that. Let me know somebody have a conversation. Let me take a screenshot and send to somebody. But the truth of the matter is these conversations are forever happening. And so while you can cease for a while, you can't cease forever. And the thing about it is we are no longer die-hearted voters. So whatever my parents used to vote don't necessarily mean that so me I go vote at all. And so you can't use the concept of die-heartedness, meaning if I don't talk to you, when election come, you go vote for me regardless. You have to keep me engaged. You have to know what I'm thinking, how to be shared with you. So until we start to go back to this mindset of having constant conversation, not just with young people, because we're not the only people, with old people, with children, with parents, with single mothers, across the board, just active conversation. They are going to always be in this position where 3 weeks time, people are just going to close their door in their faces because where have you been for the past 7 years?
I think that is important for us to understand as well, that constant conversation, being part of that civic engagement, that will be critical not only to get persons going out to vote on February 26th for the local government elections, but also continuing to engage in the electoral process come general elections. One of the conversations, though, Daniel, is about not only people voting, but also putting themselves up as candidates. We are seeing more and more where people aren't interested in voting and they don't want the hassle and the bother of political life. They don't think it's attractive. They're concerned about what it might mean for their reputation. And at the end of the day, if they don't want to vote, a lower level commitment, they're certainly not putting themselves forward. We're seeing in these serious positions to the numbers that we would like to see. Daniel, from your perspective, is this lack of engagement something that you think for the future we might have a problem getting the kind and quality of candidates we want, because right now they're not even interested in the process to begin with?
Of course. I remember reading an article from a very popular the other day, and it published in 2023, and it spoke about how corruption is at an all-time high. When they did the corruption list, politicians were at the top. And people don't necessarily want to be associated with that. So it's not necessarily that they see it and they're just like, I don't want to do it, it's too much work. It's that they don't want to be associated with something that's at the top list when people are categorizing the various individuals that aid or add to the corruption process. It's things have been published and people have been exposed for their wrongdoings consistently. It's not a one-off thing where, oh my gosh, it just like it's the first time it's happening. No, like when I hear something that a politician has done or a councillor has done or an MP has done or whoever has done, I'm no longer surprised. We as people, we no longer have that wow effect when something bad happens within the Jamaican society. When we see a politician doing something that is against the law, it's no longer like, oh my gosh, I can't believe it. It's just like, oh, we're so desensitized now. When we hear it on the news, we have no reaction. It's just, okay, moving on. So it's that people don't want to be a part of something that they can't trust, that they can't believe in.
And I think that is really important, that other side of getting engaged in the political process. Not only your willingness to vote and participate at that perhaps lower level, but offering yourself into political life and all that comes with it. Sandra, as persons look now to February 26th for local government election, they have a slate of candidates that have offered themselves. Some of them younger people, some of them older, all of them who have come with the hope of improving these divisions, improving these communities, and doing better. What would you say to someone who's sitting down there going, okay, I'm on the voters list, I should go, but I'm not really motivated to be part of the local government election process? What do you say to them?
Well, it's your right and your decision, but most importantly, think about what you want the future to look like and what you think is best for you. Despite the conversation about the perception of corruption, I really am of the view that politicians are creatures of the societies that they govern, and stopping corruption, crime, all the other issues and building the economy are big ticket issues for you, me, all of us. And that is why we should exercise our franchise. So despite how disengaged some of us may feel, it is important for us to get back in that civic engagement so that we don't feel like at any point, if there's a super majority that a party has, that they should feel too comfortable, because as a citizen, you have the power, you have the right, it's your vote, it's your voice, and when you go in that place and you have the ballot box and you can dip the ink on your finger, you would have known that you were a part of it. As a matter of fact, when I looked at the 2016 numbers, there's a division where the person win by one dege vote, which means that your vote can change the whole course of one division, which could change a MP, which could change a minister. It has a ripple effect. So your vote matters. People might say it doesn't, but it does.
Well, I think it's important for us to be able to see the critical nature of voting, the critical nature of participating in these sorts of discussions, and why we need to have a conversation like this. It helps people understand what local government is all about, and then why participating in any part of the democratic process, not only as someone who is voting, but also someone who is offering themselves for service, is important. But as our discussion on empowering our youth for a better tomorrow comes to a close, we extend our thanks to our guests, Omalora Wilson, Danielle Jordan Bailey, Sandra Roden, and with us earlier we had Dervain Rowe from the People's National Party. Zuki Jarrett was unable to join us from the Jamaica Labour Party's Young Jamaica, but these guests that we had here from the University of the West Indies as Guild President, youth advocate and political commentator, we were thanking them for their insightful contributions and perspectives. To our viewers, we extend our sincerest appreciation for tuning in and participating in this important conversation. Your engagement and interest is shaping the future of our democracy, and they're truly commendable. As we reflect on the challenges and opportunities facing our youth and the electoral process, let us carry forward the insights gained today and work towards building a brighter and more inclusive future for Jamaica. Thank you once again for joining us on JNN Discuss. Until next time,
JNN and Power 106 FM has just presented a special live discussion program on local government under the theme Empowering Our Youths for a Better Tomorrow.
JNN has just presented a live broadcast. Download our app OneSpot Media to watch this and other programs on demand.